Hi there, welcome to Pin Cut Sew, or welcome back. Today we're going to make something kind of fun, and it's a pretty basic sewing, kind of a staple to know how to make, but it trips a lot of people up because it involves zippers. And sometimes people find zippers pretty scary. So today we're going to learn how to make zipper pouches, specifically this kind of zipper pouch. It has boxed corners, and I made it out of a quilt block. So this is a great project for if you have an orphan quilt block laying around, if you're like me and you just like to try to make a lot of blocks but you never have time to make an actual whole quilt. This is a good way to use up those languishing quilt blocks. Also, they just look so cool. I love how this looks. I've also made, let's see, I made this one out of a log cabin block. I made a little card wallet, I'll have to go get it, out of little blocks. And sometimes I just like to try making quilt blocks and then I don't know what to do with them. So zipper pouches is a great idea. I also have put a zipper pouch guide in my pattern shop on my website and on Etsy. And it will show you how to make a very basic zipper pouch like this guy. It will show you how to resize it to any size that you want. It will show you how to make a quilted one out of either piece together pieces or just one fabric like this. They're all lined, and this one is quilted, and then it'll teach you also how to make boxed corners. So after you get that guide and after you watch this video, you should be able to make zipper pouches in any style that you want. So this is your ultimate guide to zipper pouches. You can go get that on my website. I'll put it in the very first part of the description below. So, oh, here's another one. This was just out of an 8-inch quilt block. So cute, right? So before you start, you'll need to get some zippers. You want to make sure they are not metal for this purpose. They need to be, what are these made of? I guess plastic. And I like to get mine on Amazon. I like these ones with the cool, funky colors, but I also like these ones. I like the large poles, and they come in packs on Amazon. You can get a ton of colors for a really good price. So I'll link you to those too. And I think that's everything. Let's get started. Okay, I found the little card wallet I was talking about. I just made 2 rectangular blocks just for fun out of these fabrics that I had the teeniest bit of and turned them into a little zipper pouch for my cards and IDs and stuff. Has linen on the inside too. This is a linen color. This was an old Anna Maria Horner print that I loved. So let's see. This is my basic one. These ones have boxed corners. Today we're going to make this pencil-shaped pouch with boxed corners. This is perfect for pencils or tampons. And I'm going to make it out of this quilt block. This is the same block as here. I'm actually working on developing a quilt pattern with this block. Came up with it, and I think it looks really cool with stripes and solids. So stay tuned for that pattern, but you can use any quilt block or you can just use a regular complete fabric. You just want to cut your piece, like my block measures, I think 10.5. So zipper pouches are really not rocket science. You can make them whatever size that you want. So this is the basic idea for zipper pouches with boxed corners and quilted. So you're also going to need some cotton batting. If you're making like a non-quilted version like this one, I like to put flannel in there as interfacing, or you can just use actual interfacing. That's fine too. Fuse on. The instructions that are for sale in my shop, they have both versions. Oh, I'm missing my sewing scissors. Okay, so for this, you're going to want to cut roughly around your quilt block. If you're doing a front and a back, I'm going to fold this over so that it is both sides. If you're doing a front and a back though, like this, you'll want to do this with both, of course. Okay, you can put some pins in there if you want to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and quilt. I like how this looks with the horizontal lines. So what you want to do is attach your walking foot to your sewing machine. I have an entire video about the walking foot. This will keep your batting and things from bunching. But if you don't have one, for this small of a project, it will probably be okay if you don't use one. So I'm going to quilt horizontal lines 1/2 inch apart from each other, all the way down my quilt block. If your machine has trouble with this, if it keeps like trying to eat up your batting, you can just put like a solid fabric underneath and then sandwich the batting in between like a quilt sandwich, and that will take care of that problem. You can see I'm making progress. I like to stitch in the ditch on the big squares, and then I like to go back and fill in the gaps. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's really not rocket science. You may also notice that I don't remove my piece after each line. You can simply backstitch or stitch to the next spot and keep going. Okay, my block is all quilted. Now I'm just going to trim it. Sometimes when you quilt something, it can get a little bit distorted. Where is my rotary cutter? I can't find it. This one's kind of dull, but I'll have to do. Anyway, sometimes things get distorted out of shape, so you might need to square it up back into the shape, the size that you wanted it to begin with, because it is important that it is a square, like an even piece. Okay, there's my finished quilted square. Looks very cool. Now I'm going to choose a zipper. I also need to choose lining fabric. Okay, so for my lining, normally I would have a front and a back piece, but since this was a quilt block and I'm going to be folding it in half, I'm going to cut 2 lining pieces, but the lining, unlike the top, will have a seam in the bottom of it for turning the piece right side out. So what I'm going to do is add a 1/4 inch seam allowance to my 2 lining pieces. I'm folding my quilt block in half because I'm going to cut 2 linings, and then I'm going to add a seam allowance to the bottom of my lining pieces. So the next thing we're going to do, because we want this pouch to have boxed corners, I'm going to cut out 1.5 inches of my pouch and my lining. This is a little gut-wrenching when you've spent time on a quilt block. But it is necessary. It makes a very cool and fun pencil pouch. This will make the boxed corners. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing in my lining. But remember, my lining has an extra 1/4 inch on the bottom. So I'm going to go up an extra 1/4 inch here. So it'll be 1.5 in, but 1 3/4 up. Because that last 1/4 inch is going to be taken up by a seam. Okay, so now you should have, quilt block looks like this, and your lining pieces both look like this. So they are separate. Okay, so now I have to choose a zipper. Gosh, can you believe in all these zippers? I don't really have one that's a perfect match. You want to avoid a metal zipper. Some of these vintage ones are metal. For this method of zipper pouches, don't use those. Because in this method, I'm going to use this one. I think it looks fine. Because some people, if you watch zipper pouch tutorials, they do some kind of contraption on the ends, sort of like this. But I find it unnecessary. I do not find that it makes it less fiddly and fussy. So I install my zippers and I sew over the teeth. And I've always done it that way. It's how I learned when I was a kid. And it's always worked fine for me. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. Actually, kind of like that one better. It's too purple. Why am I struggling so much? No, I'm just going to use this one. Okay, stop overthinking it. So what you want to do is open up your zipper. And you want to place it face down. So see, my zipper tab is face down at the top edge of your pouch. And then you want to place it so that the zipper stop is 1/4 inch from this raw edge over here. And you're going to clip that in place if you need to. And if you need to, you can go baste it in place. Attach a zipper foot to your sewing machine. A zipper foot usually looks like this, and you want to move your needle over so that it's in this little part. And then it will move nicely along your zipper. Instead of a more bulky foot that this gets in the way of your zipper, this will just move nice and smoothly along it. So I'm going to skip the basting step. I might come to regret that later, but we're gonna see anyway. And I'm gonna go ahead and place my lining. So if you want to baste it in place, you go ahead and baste your zipper with a long machine stitch in place. Then you're going to place your lining fabric face down, if you have a front and back side, face down on top of that. And pin or clip that in place, making all my raw edges and zipper tape edge meet. I like the clips for this purpose. They're called Wonder Clips and they are wonderful, and I will link you to some. Okay, so I'm gonna go attach my zipper foot and stitch this down. Okay, so my zipper is secured. I sewed a 1/4 inch from the edge, and here it is nicely wedged in between my layers. So now I'm going to take this over to my iron and press the outside and the lining away from the zipper, making sure my lining's not going to get bunched up when I top stitch it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take it over to my machine this way. And again with my zipper foot, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch 1/8 of an inch from this folded edge. You can place some pins, but just make sure that your fingers are feeling on the bottom to make sure that the lining is not getting bunched up under your needle. Okay, so my zipper is attached to that side. Now I'm going to, if you have a separate piece, if you have 2 front and back pieces instead of just the 1 quilt block piece, this will be similar, but I'm just going to fold my piece up so that it meets the other raw edge of the zipper. And so if I flip it now, my zipper is still face down, and I can position this zipper stop 1/4 inch away from the raw edge of my fabric. And then I'm going to place my other lining piece face down on top of it. So I'm making a zipper sandwich. Then I'm going to pin it all together. You can, of course, baste the zipper to the outside fabric if you want to. Another option is a glue stick. I know they sell fancy sewing glue sticks, but honestly, Elmer's glue sticks work just fine. They've been a staple in my sewing room for a long time. When I am placing maybe curved pieces or trying to top stitch a facing in place on a shirt, things like that. They're very useful. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead with my zipper foot and stitch 1/4 inch from the raw edge. Okay, so my zipper is in there, and now I'm going to once again flip the pieces. I'm going to go press them away from the zipper teeth and then top stitch. Okay, here we are. It looks a little funny right now. So the next thing we're going to do is place right sides together. Oops, wait. Very, very important. We have to close the zipper halfway. Do not forget that step. We'll regret it. Then you're going to turn it wrong side out and finagle it so that you have right sides together of both the outside pieces and the lining pieces. And then we're going to simply pin them. And when you pin them, and this is why zipper pouches sometimes trip people up, they don't know what to do with this zipper here. We're going to turn the teeth so that they are facing the outside piece of the bag. So we're going to try to get them as nested there as possible and clip. Then the rest of the pouch we can just pin in place. I cannot find any of my tools right now. I tell y'all, I have so many sewing projects on my to-do list. My daughter is in a play of Oklahoma. My other daughter is going to a ballet gala. She needs a 70s dress, and I altered her other prom dress and her 50s dress. Okay, anyway, again, this zipper is closed, so it's a little different than the other side, but I'm going to push the teeth so that they are facing the outside of my pouch. And then I'm going to pin the sides together. Oh, see how my teeth want to flip that way? I'm gonna try not to let that happen. So this, my outside of my quilt block doesn't need a bottom seam because it already is folded in half, but my lining does need a bottom seam, and I'm going to leave a 3-inch opening in it. I have the hiccups. So that I can turn it right side out later. So I'm gonna stitch here and here and leave this part open. Okay, so I'm gonna go stitch this. Now I use a regular foot for this. And when you come to the zipper tape, I'll probably go this way so I'm easing over the hump. You're going to use your hand wheel to turn the stitches over this zipper. If your needle gets stuck on a zipper stop, say for instance, you can just sort of lift up your presser foot and wiggle past it and keep going with your hand wheel until you get past the zipper teeth. This will make sure that you don't break a needle, but I will show you what I mean. Okay, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. Start as normal. Make sure my zipper teeth stay towards my quilted part. But when I come here, I don't want to break a needle, but my needle is able to just sort of wedge in between those teeth. Until I am past them. And also the bottom edge. Okay, so here's my opening I left. And now to box the corners, I'm going to simply fold it so that the centers meet. I'm going to open up this seam if I can. I'm going to place some pins. So I'm creating nice angular creases at these edges. I'll just clip it. I'm going to go stitch this from folded edge to folded edge in a 1/4 inch seam. And then I'm going to repeat that for the lining pieces too, and for the other outside corner. So make sure they meet in the middle. So you're creating this new seam here. I'm going to do that with all 4 corners. Okay, here is my funky looking zipper pouch. It should look like this with your boxed corners. So now you can reach inside of the hole you left in the lining and turn it right side out. Then you can reach into the lining before sewing it shut and get your corners out nice and neat. You can push the zipper ends up to where they belong and look nice. Same with this end. Flip it so it looks nice. And then check and see if your zipper works. Always a good time to do that before you sew your lining closed. So see, I sewed right over my zipper. Since my teeth are facing the outside, they look just fine. I did not need any fussy, complicated zipper ends. And now I can simply turn my lining raw edges to the inside as if I had sewn them, and I'm just going to edge stitch this closed. If you are less lazy than me, you can use matching thread. Oops. Okay, put the lining in the inside and zip it up. I think it's so cute. I love this size. I think this one's my favorite. I hope this was helpful for you. Be sure and go grab my zipper pouch guide. It is full of ideas and information, ideas to embellish the outsides of these, how to resize it to whatever size you need, how to make it bigger, smaller, card wallet, non-boxed corners, however you like. So let me know if you like this by giving it a thumbs up, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.